everyone. My name is Francesca, and this is Critical Babe Theory. And today, my guest is Alan Wagner.
Hi, Francesca.
Hi.
First of all, welcome to me being on your podcast. So unfortunately, I'm not here today as in my capacity as Alan Wagner, the internet's beloved comedic mind. I'm actually here as an official delegate of the unofficial Eddington Preservation Society, and what we are a group of brave men and women who come together to preserve the memory of the film Eddington by Ari Aster. And this film came out in 2025, but it is at risk of being completely forgotten because it went criminally unacknowledged at every awards ceremony the past few months, which is a disaster because this is a great feel-good, heartwarming romp through the American psychological landscape. And it's got everything you would need in a film. It's got Joaquin Phoenix and Pascal Mescal. And they star as two boys who is trapped in the desert.
Right.
And it only gets crazier from there.
Oh my gosh.
So it really makes no sense. Not only did this get no nominations at the Oscars, but to add insult to injury, many characters die in this film, and not one of them appeared in the in memoriam section at Oscars, which just goes to show how backstabbed this film was by Oscars Corporation. Oscars is supposed to be about celebrating movies.
Right.
And this is a movie.
That's groundbreaking.
It's undoubtedly a film.
Yeah.
And a darn good one.
Yeah.
So my plan was to come here and plead directly to Donald J. Trump, who I heard is a listener.
Oh, really? You heard that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
God, I'm so flattered.
Yeah, I heard he's a big fan. I was going to ask him that it needs to be looked into, the criminal robbing of this film of any awards. I was going to say we need to start a special counsel investigation into why that with the criminal robbing. But I don't know if you just saw last week that the special counsel grand wizard Robert Mueller,
he died.
He just passed away, so no one's in charge of special counsel right now.
Nobody. God, I know, because it's hard with those old people. They just dropping like flies, and all this institutional knowledge is being lost, like basket weaving. Do you know what I mean? You ever think about that?
I do think about that.
You look like you think about it in that shirt. You know.
Thanks. But that's its own problem. They need to choose the new Grand Wizard. But
right.
That's why I had a new idea to come on the show.
Oh.
And again, I'd like to plead directly to Donald J. Trump. What I have in my hands, and if you're listening to only audio, please understand I'm holding a stack of papers that says the Save Eddington Act. This is something I'd like to pitch directly to Congress. And I would love the cooperation of both Donald J. Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Because what this would do, it would enshrine in the Constitution. You see, Eddington premiered April 25th at the Cannes Film Festival.
Right.
To an insulting 0-second standing ovation.
No.
But this film would enshrine in the Constitution. Every April 25th would be Eddington Day, which is not mandatory to watch the film Eddington in America, but it would be heavily
suggested,
advised. And that's why I want to involve the Doctor of War Pete Hegseth, because I don't want it to be mandatory to watch the film. America's not about mandatory doing anything.
This is the land of the free.
But if there was an armed soldier on every corner holding a sign that says "Time to watch Eddington," I think they would get the idea across, and that's where I would come in, because I don't know if you know, I do a lot of sign-based comedy. I do a lot of printing on paper to make people laugh. So I actually have a really good printer, and I could offer it to the United States to print the signs that say "Time to watch Eddington." And that's a service I could provide for my country.
So you feel like a letter-sized sign would be sufficient?
If there's enough soldiers on every street corner.
Totally.
And my printer could print up to 11 by 17.
I'm sorry.
It's a really good printer.
It's a really good printer. I thought you had multiple printers.
I do actually. I have 4 printers, but only one can print out 11 by 17.
Right, your special one.
Yeah.
Where'd you get it?
It's a Canon Pro 310 printer.
Did you get it off the internet?
Yes.
Like off of kind of Craigslist internet or like new from a store internet?
I actually inherited my first one from an ex-girlfriend who I'm still pals with.
Okay.
And I do kind of print so much, I kind of run my printers into the ground. But then, did you know, if you buy a new printer on Amazon, and you put the broken one in the box, and you send it back to Amazon,
they'll give you money.
Something amazing might happen to you.
Really?
That I can't disclose.
What if you just started sending like all of your electronic trash to Amazon?
That's actually something I wouldn't advise. And
okay.
I'm really here to promote the film Eddington because this is a film every American should see. So that's all I had to say. If you want me to leave.
No, I don't want you. I don't want you to leave. I want to ask some questions though, follow-up questions.
Sure.
Did it land on critics' lists to your knowledge? Not the right ones.
This was critically reviled.
Right.
Well, reviled might be a strong word. It was critically mixed at best. Oh, actually.
Yeah.
I think this kind of befuddled critics. And in fact, I have my favorite review that I found.
Well, la-di-da.
So this is actually true. If you go to Walmart.com and you pull up the page for Eddington Blu-ray, it has an average 1-star review. Because it only has one review that is 1 star.
Has one star review?
And the headline of the review is Eddington came, damage Fisk. I think they meant to write damaged disc.
Okay.
And it says, could not watch this movie Eddington as the disc came damaged and would not play, had to get a refund. So that just goes to show how much this movie went over the critics' heads.
Totally. They can't even get their disc to work.
But I heard you rewatched this film recently.
I did.
What did you think of it on your first, and did it change on your second viewing?
Well, I just feel like I needed full disclosure. There has been a long and protracted propaganda war on me by a friend of ours to appreciate this film. So it's sort of like the astroturf was laid, for me to have a change of heart. So, and I will say that I'm very impressionable and I have to watch out who I talk to because I'll believe them. So anyway, I was ripe for rewatching and I did happen to rewatch it and had a very different experience than my first one.
So your heart changed. So at first you had a dark-hearted response.
I had a kind of like, are you kidding me? I had like that kind of response. Kind of like, for me, I don't think I was able... So I'll take fault where fault is due. I don't think when I first saw it in theaters, I was able to zoom back enough and to see I wouldn't call it satire, but the opera, the operatic stakes at play in it. And I just sort of was lost when things went from can I spoil things?
I think this should be a spoiler-friendly zone.
Okay. So when people started getting killed and dying, I was kind of like, this lost me. I was like, it lost its chain of plausibility. But now rewatching it, having been primed, I much more appreciated that. And I was sort of like willing to go on the journey. And the journey was dark into the heart of the American Berserk, I would say.
Yeah. What's great about this film is I think it's designed to make you feel horrible. So if you walk away saying, I hated that experience, then that means you watched it correctly and the movie worked as intended. And it actually means that you liked the movie, even if you don't realize it.
Really?
That's my theory.
Is that what you try to do as... we haven't really gotten to a definition of terms. I feel like you're I feel like you're an artist.
Thank you.
Do you think you're an artist?
I think I'm somewhat of an amorphous blob of a person.
Really? That sounds hard.
I'm not quite sure what I do or how to translate it. My tax person recently told me I'm a multimedia artist.
Yeah.
I kind of generally think of myself as a comedian who one day dreams of being a filmmaker.
Really?
Unfortunately, the easiest way to get what I do across, when you go on a date and the first thing they ask you is, what do you do?
Right.
Often that stumps me. But unfortunately, the quickest way I've found to get it across is that I'm a content creator, which is a loaded, fraught term.
I don't agree with that because content in the way it's used online is an amorphous blob of a category, but your creations are very tactile and paper based, I may add. They're very real. So to me, content has a connotation of like being hard to pin down what it is, or it only being a video or a vague idea. Whereas like you're a paper practitioner. You're sending out surrealist papers into the world.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't want it to say content creator on my tombstone.
Yeah.
I think I bristle at that term because I think it implies that what you're making is not art. It's something a step below that's called content. I don't know. But maybe I'm overthinking it. But I think I'm a comedic artist who happens to put his stuff on the internet, and that's where most people consume it.
Well, I've consumed it unwittingly, but just out in public, out and about. That's an accomplishment.
That's amazing. I'm glad that happened to you. But I actually don't. Well, I'm about to blow up my spot. People think that I really paper up the town with all these flyers.
Yeah.
I let them think that.
So what's really happening?
I tend to put up 2 or 3, and then I just take it's mostly for the picture to put on the internet. So does that change your mind now? Do you believe I'm a content creator?
No, because to me it sounds more like magic, because I have interacted with the physical. I have run into the 2 or 3 that you put up in this world, and that in and of itself is astounding.
Yeah.
How do you choose your spots? Is it intuitive? Do you use a psychic, or is it just happenstance and random?
It's just happenstance. I tend to like areas that look more like American suburbia. And I don't even know why. That's just, I don't know, it's kind of where I grew up and where I formed a lot of my whatever's in my brain. So, but here in Brooklyn, there's actually not many places at all that look like American suburbia. I found one little nook, one tiny little neighborhood in Queens that...
Middle Village?
It's not that.
Okay.
And I probably shouldn't say it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right, you want to keep it for yourself.
Yeah. All my competitors will start putting their signs up.
Do you have competitors?
No. I don't know. I'm only competing with myself.
But there must be someone out there who is attempting to use the groundwork you have laid. No?
That's true. Well, yeah, there's that guy when I first started out doing the signs. I also make videos.
Yes.
Some of them have gone big. But I do make pieces of paper. And when I started doing pieces of paper, everyone was like, oh, you're like Obvious Plant. This is like Obvious Plant. Do you know that guy?
It sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, apparently there was a guy I was not aware of, but there was a guy who, his whole thing, he's a funny guy, and I've met him, and he's a very nice man. He would go into like stores and put funny little pretend signs and take a picture of them. Okay. So there's a precedent.
There's a precedent
for sign-based humor, and there's this new guy who told me, I think he's inspired by me and the Obvious Plant. His name is like Leg Boot or something like that.
Leg Boot?
Yeah. But I also make videos. I don't just make pieces of paper. I also send thousands of pieces of strange mail across the world every month.
So do you have I just have a lot of different questions. They're really mundane, but I find them really interesting. The first one, okay, can we put off mail for a second?
Right.
With the videos, this is something I don't understand about having a video that a lot of people watch on the internet. What actually happens after one has a video that a lot of people watch? Is it simply just that a lot of people have watched it?
You just feel a sense of satisfaction in your soul that you made something that touched so many people.
So you couldn't put a price on that?
Priceless.
Priceless. But given if one does have a video that a lot of people watch, does somebody start giving you money?
No. Common misconception. People think if you have a lot of followers on Instagram just gives you money. This is not true.
Right.
That's why if I was really smart, I would have brought like my books I put out to put along this fake Blu-ray of Eddington.
Okay.
But that's why you got to make books and try to funnel people into your Patreon to make a living.
Because Instagram gives you nothing.
Right.
Except cachet, perhaps.
Yeah, and just a way to reach people.
Okay. How do you... So there was recently a big ruling against Facebook.
Yeah, I saw that happen yesterday, right?
Yesterday,
I didn't really look into it. But, yeah, it was basically a lady said that Instagram was designed to addict her and make her feel bad about herself. And,
right.
Yeah.
And she won $6 million. And just... Although that is almost no money, opening the floodgates. So here's my thought, which I don't know if you have an inside line on this. Are they going to stop using the algorithmic feed and return to a chronological feed? And if that were true, how would you feel about a chronological feed, given your work?
That's a great question. Well, this also brings us back somewhat to the film of Eddington.
Okay, great.
And how algorithms are, bad.
You think they're bad?
I don't know. Yeah, well, it is weird that they are controlling all of our sense of reality and what's real, and have siloed us into these different realities. And yeah, I'd say social media has had somewhat of a largely negative effect on the social fabric.
Right.
And it's also how I make a living.
Right.
So that's something I must contend within myself.
And how? Tell us, how do you contend?
Oh, by not thinking too hard about it.
Got it.
No, just I think hard. I'm a thinker.
Are you?
Sometimes I walk around and I ponder.
Right.
But we are living in a I don't know if you noticed, but we're kind of living in a shit world. Many might describe it that way. I think that's something both sides of the partisan divide could probably agree on, that
Sure.
things feel perhaps worse than they ever have. There's a lot of doom and tension. And that is why I'm here to promote the film Eddington. Because one reason I actually liked this, and I'm speaking as a normal guy right now, is I kind of feel like a lot of movies, or most movies, don't really, they kind of conveniently ignore the fact that we're living in this world where half of all our consciousness is kind of plugged into this. The algorithms we're addicted to, and you can't really partake in society unless you're voluntarily addicted to these algorithms, and that's just making it just makes everything feel bad and tense. Most movies, I feel like movies are kind of like losing cultural relevance because they're, I don't know if I'm sounding like too much of a egghead right now. I'm actually a dumb guy who sometimes ponders. But this movie made me ponder about how, what was I saying one moment ago?
Movies are losing cultural relevance
because they kind of ignore the fact that this is what the world feels like. They kind of, a lot of them I feel like exist in this liminal, semi-nostalgic void where the world doesn't feel like this. And Ari Aster, bless his little heart, took it upon himself, and he said, I'm going to confront this head on and make a movie about how it feels right now. And I feel like maybe we need to at least try to do that, to try and transcend and move through this world that we built for ourselves, but we all seem to agree that it sucks right now. What do you think of that?
I think you're totally right. I've never thought of how movies are in this kind of adjacent liminal world. Yeah, I think you're right.
Great.
Whoa. That's trippy. Here's the thing.
I love being right.
Yeah, totally. Here's what I was wondering. Is it... So the reason I was thinking of the term American Berserk is I'm reading a book right now called American Pastoral by, oh my God, Philip Roth. And I don't even remember what he's talking about. He's talking about there's a lot of that was also a heightened moment, right? Like in the late 60s, early 70s, where things felt like they were sort of like out of whack. I can imagine. I don't know. I clearly wasn't alive, but I've read about it and stuff. But my question is, do you think this is a distinctly American phenomenon? Not so much that it's only happening in America, but that its genesis originated in America.
Yeah. Well, I've only ever lived in America. It definitely seems like there is growing polarization and everywhere. And it seems like somehow this new world somehow favors like right-wing strongmen getting into office. Right. And that seems to be happening everywhere, which is scary, and all the more reason to, I don't know, try and do a little bit of self-reflection about what we could all be doing, I don't know, better, or I don't know. But this is a film made in America.
To me, I don't know. Maybe I want to believe in American exceptionalism or something, but it does seem distinctly American to me. Something that, when I was rewatching it, that really struck me was there's that scene, if you haven't seen the movie, where the antagonist of Joaquin Phoenix, who's the sheriff, the mayor, Ted Garcia,
played by Pascal Mescal.
Pedro Pascal, is having a party, and it's playing. It's actually kind of like the best song selection I've ever heard. Like it's Katy Perry's in the background. Anyway, there's a noise complaint, but it's like it was the perfect encapsulation of like those parties that were happening during the pandemic, that were like outdoor and masked and distanced, but like still. And I just remember when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh, right, it's just so crazy that everybody was going so nuts and being so rigid about the ways that we could gather to prevent the spread of a virus that it seems, at least it seems to be widely accepted, and the government did back it up, that like was created with American funding. Do you know what I mean? That is insane to me.
Right. I don't know.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
I don't. Did we ever come to a conclusion about where it was made, within a little mammal or within a lab? Honestly, I don't.
I don't think there wasn't like an 100% conclusion, but I do believe the Biden administration put out some kind of paper that like softly acknowledged that it was very possible it was a lab leak scenario from the Wuhan lab, and I don't think it's 100%. But I think that they sort of, after the Democrats had been for years saying that was a right-wing conspiracy theory, there was kind of like a quiet acknowledgement that maybe it was true. And the crazy thing about, I don't know, did you ever read the lab leak theory paper?
No.
Dude. Basically, what the paper posits is that the reason that COVID happened was just because there's different levels of virus protocol in a lab that studies viruses, right? There's like level 1, which is pretty chill, like colds, level 2, level 3, and level 4. If you're dealing with like a level 4 level virus, which I believe, don't kill me if I'm wrong, is like Ebola or something, you have to like do airlock in the rooms. You have to wear a full suit. Like it's just, you have to go through all this protocol to deal with viruses that are like, very contagious. And so what the lab leak paper posited was that because they were studying these coronaviruses, and it was just a pain in the butt to like put on the gloves and do the airlock and all that stuff, that they demoted COVID from, I think it was either a level 3 or a level 4 to a level 2. Just so that their prep time at work wouldn't be as long. So it's like, which to me, I'm like not a big conspiracy theorist, because I feel like conspiracy sort of suppose this idea that there's like a grand arrangement behind it all, when the reality is often just like the people who worked there didn't want to spend the extra 15 minutes putting on the right kind of gloves. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I'm like, oh, of course, So it's just amazing to think about. I have a lot of friends who left the Democratic Party because of masking mandates, that like felt like that was so self-righteous and stupid, especially around, like, for instance, like cloth masks, which we later found out had like absolutely no ability to stop the virus, but if you didn't have your cloth mask on, you would get yelled at. Anyway, I felt like the movie really perfectly encapsulated the hypocrisy of like the distancing and the masking and all this stuff in light of...
Remember when we all banged our pots and pans to say good job to the nurses?
Well, I was not here for that. So that's what here's the other thing is like, I feel like...
That was fun. That's the only hot take on COVID I had, was that it was fun to bang the pots and pans.
It was fun.
For the first year, maybe.
They did it for a year? Get out of here.
That's what well, each time they banged the pots and pans, there was like a couple less each time. Some people, I think, were going a year strong in.
Really? Were you here in the city for the whole time?
I was in LA for COVID.
Okay. Why?
I lived in LA for 10 years. I've only been here for 3.
Why did you live in LA?
That's, I asked myself that every year.
Yeah.
I was in LA. So on the 10th time I asked myself that, I figured it's time. But I went to film school there, so then I just stuck around because I was in the film industry adjacent somewhat, and was too poor to just pick up and move anywhere else. Until
you finally picked yourself up into here.
Yeah.
Okay. And where are you from originally?
Middle of nowhere, Michigan. I think that's also why I have a fondness for the film Eddington by Ari Aster, released in 2025. Because it takes place in a small town of 2,000 people. My little town in Michigan was less than 1,000.
Really?
They have since cracked 1,000 after I left.
Wow.
But when I was there, it was triple digits.
How's the birth rate there?
Haven't delved that deep into the stats.
Yeah. What is it called and where in the state is it?
Edwardsburg, Michigan. If this is Michigan,
yeah,
it's on the southwest border. You could walk to Indiana from my house.
You could
walk
right
to
on
the border.
How far is it from Indianapolis?
Far, but close to South Bend, Indiana. Which invented Mayor Pete. And also close to on the border with Mishawaka, which invented who's that actor that who was Darth Vader, and he was also in Girls. Adam Driver. They invented.
I was going to say James Earl Jones. He's from. Oh, I didn't realize he was
James Earl
from.
Jones had a great part in Girls.
Yeah, totally. That's a small town.
Thank you. I think I turned out okay.
Yeah. How's your family there?
I think maybe that's another reason I'm fond of the movie Eddington.
Yeah.
Is I think I grew up mostly on the internet. Before you had to be on the internet every day to participate in society.
Yeah.
I think my little town, for whatever reason, was boring to me. So as soon as I got the internet, which was the dial-up kind that made all the noises, I pretty much lived mostly on the internet.
Oh.
And before even COVID, where I feel like during COVID, we all had nothing to do but be on the internet, and it really warped our perspective on everything.
See, I didn't have that experience because I was having babies during COVID.
Nice.
So I didn't bang the pots and pans. I didn't go to social distanced parties. In fact, I basically saw no one except my children and their father for, I don't know, 2-3 years. Which was
Congrats.
kind of...
Well, it's nice you got to skip a lot of the horrible elements because you were dealing with the joy of motherhood.
Exactly. So for me, not that I look back, because to me it wasn't like, what it wasn't integral to that wasn't that it was COVID. What was integral is that I had children, and COVID was like the secondary. So my question then is like, how realistic is the movie in your experience?
To small townness?
To the charge that it felt out in the world within the first like 3 or 4 months of COVID. You know how there's that scene, he goes in the grocery store and then like one guy's not wearing a mask because he can't breathe because of his asthma, and then he gets kicked out, and then some people are clapping, and then everybody's filming with their camera. Does that feel accurate? Yeah,
that felt like exactly how the world kind of still feels. To a lesser extent. Maybe whatever this movie is about, kind of peaked in that time. But it's still worth, I think, watching a movie about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the public shaming of not wearing a mask, and what I love about the film Eddington is I love that grocery store scene, because that's one of the scenes where I think Mr. Joaquin Phoenix, you do see a bit of his good side, because I think he is genuinely concerned for that old guy who can't, breathe the mask. And you kind of see how Joaquin Phoenix develops his more right-wing views or becomes more embedded in that culture from... He just sees an old man who can't breathe, and everyone's cheering when he gets kicked out of the store and can't buy groceries. Obviously, but then you also feel, maybe at that time, I was one of the people who maybe would have clapped or something. I think this is not a good movie because it helps you empathize with
the other side of whatever side you may be on.
So I do like that little scene in the grocery store.
Yeah. Why was everybody so passive aggressive and shaming? I guess because they were scared, right?
Yeah. Who knows? Social media, algorithms, everything.
But don't you think people were really afraid? I mean, that would make it easier to believe, like, how ridiculous people's behavior was. You know?
Well, I think people are still afraid. It feels like there's a lot of doom in the air.
Not in this apartment, baby.
Oh, this is a very nice apartment. Well,
it's a beautiful spring day. Yeah.
Ask you a genuine question and something. So, a lot of people in my left-leaning friend groups, they're like, I would. Who would ever have a kid and bring them into this world? I would never do that to a kid. I don't really talk like that, but can you, I'm sure you kind of heard that argument before you decided to have kids.
I mean, that argument is an argument made only by fools, to be clear. And I can say that.
That's how I felt. But
unequivocally. But I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
So, there is nothing fundamentally, I'm not swearing for maybe I'm going to get flack for this. I understand. I believe in a climate crisis. I'm very concerned about AI. There is nothing fundamentally different about this time than any other time in history.
That's how I feel. Things have always been bad.
Well, I guess, or my experience, the way I would put it more is like people have always felt bad about the world within their mind that they inhabit. That would be, and it's funny, there was this quote that I actually wrote down when I was watching the film where it says, there's this, Joaquin Phoenix is like going kind of crazy. I think violence has already broken out at this point, and he says, we are in the center of it right now. We are in history, and he's like using that to explain, I don't know if he's just hurt somebody or whatever. He's on a path where you're like, things are spinning out. So I would say like, that's how everybody's always felt. Like, we're in this right now. Which is like in some ways beautiful, and we can applaud, right? Because like the only place you can really exist is in the present moment. So of course you're going to privilege it and say that it's the most important of all moments. So that's one thing I would say to your friends. The other thing I would say, and look, I was like very anti-natalist when I was younger, mostly out of foolishness also. But I had a friend who said to me, he was like, I think I was making how could I bring a child into this world, And he was like, well, imagine if you were born, like, wouldn't you want to live, even if just for 20 years? Like, if all the earth had left was 20 years, like, wouldn't you want that 20 years of experience and glory and presence in this world, even if it were going to be cut short? That, like, who am I to judge the quality of experience? So yes, your friends, they may say like, okay, so a middle class, white picket fence, let's just say like white, liberal, 75 years old, like grandkids, like sure, maybe that's not available to everybody. But is that of more value in terms of life than others? I mean, this is like a little bit more Hindu, but like, well, I don't even know if it's that, but I guess I sort of think about life as like, there's nothing that's necessarily inherently good or bad. It's just all different types of experience, and what kind of experience am I interested in creating?
Sounds good to me. I'm learning and listening right now.
Is that a sufficient answer to your question?
Yeah, that's kind of how I've been leaning toward feeling about that.
Are you trying to have some children?
Not this week.
But next?
I think eventually,
Right.
but it's not on the immediate horizon.
Would you ever put your work in the Whitney?
Do you just walk in and put it there?
Well, maybe that would be a next good move for you.
If I didn't know it was that easy.
Well, maybe it is. Do you know what I mean? I mean, who even goes? Oh, I heard the new museum opened up a new wing, but the art world, from what I've been hearing, at least the middle of the art world, not the top, is like totally cratering. Like maybe this is your time.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I do like going to the museums. It's hard for me to totally relate to that world. I'm a man of the people.
Are you?
I like.
Oh, because you're from a small town.
Yeah, we didn't have. It's maybe it's my man of the peopleness. But when art gets too highfalutin, but I don't know. Retract that statement. I like highfalutin art. I like abstract art. But I think the art world is and the people who are in charge of it, I don't relate to them, and I don't know what they want. So I'm certainly not aiming for my work to ever be in any museums. It's more for the people.
So what would your aim be then with your work?
I just want to keep making it, and make a modest living, and I'm very grateful I have my little. Well, they're not little; they're full-grown men and women, probably. But I appreciate all the full-grown people who like my work enough to pay me for it and allow me to make more. I love them very much.
Okay.
Almost as much as I love the film Eddington by Ari Aster, 2025.
Well, with that, we're going to take a short break. If you want to hear the second half of this conversation, you can go to patreon.com/criticalbabetheory. Again, this is Alan. I want to call you Wagner. Alan Wagner is here. Artist.
Wagner sounds worse, which is why I like it more.
Okay, Alan
more awkward.
Wagner. Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back. Thank you.